Hi everyone. We're doing cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as CBT, and these are our group members.
Melinda, Nicole, Jumi, Rachel, Polina, Shanique, and Shayla.
Overview. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or commonly known as CBT, is a practical, short-term form of psychotherapy. It helps people to develop skills and strategies for becoming and staying healthy. CBT focuses on the here and now, on the problems that come up in day-to-day life. CBT helps people to examine how they make sense of what is happening around them and how these perceptions affect the way they feel. CBT helps break down the vicious cycle and overcome problems by identifying and changing unhelpful ways of thinking and behaving. Cognitive behavioral therapy is structured, is time-limited, is problem-focused and goal-oriented, teaches strategies and skills, is based on a proactive, shared therapeutic relationship between therapist and client.
Hi everyone, this is Jimmy, and I'm going to be talking about some of the theories of cognitive behavior therapy. And the first person we're going to be talking about is Aaron Beck. He was regarded as the father of cognitive therapy, and his theories are widely used in treatment of clinical depression. He also developed self-report measures of depression and anxiety, notably the Beck Depression Inventory, which became one of the most widely used instruments for measuring depression severity. The next person is David Burns. He is an adjunct professor emerite in the Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Science at the Stanford University School of Medicine, and is the author of the best-selling books Feeling Good, The New Mood Medicine.
So the first technique is considered journaling. This technique is a way of gathering data about our moods and thoughts. The journal can include the time of the mood or thought, the source of it, the extent or intensity, and how we responded to it, among other factors. This technique can help us to identify our thought patterns and emotional tendencies, describe them, and find out how to change, adapt, or cope with them.
The second technique is relaxed breathing. This is another technique that is not specific to CBT, but will be familiar to practitioners of mindfulness. There are many ways to relax and bring regularity to your breath, including guided and unguided imagery, audio recording, YouTube videos, and scripts. Bringing regularity and calm to your breath will allow you to approach your problems from a place of balance, facilitating more effective and rational decision making.
The third technique is called cognitive restructuring. With this, you would identify the distortions or inaccurate views of the world you hold, and you can begin to learn about how this distortion took root and why you came to believe it. When you discover a belief that is destructive or harmful, you can begin to challenge it. For example, if you believe that you must have a high-paying job to be a respectable person, but you lose your high-paying job, you will begin to feel bad about yourself. Instead of accepting this faulty belief that leads you to think unreasonably negative thoughts about yourself, you could take this opportunity to think about what makes a person respectable, a belief you may not have explicitly considered before.
The fourth technique is unraveling cognitive distortions. This is a main goal of CBT and can be practiced with or without the help of a therapist. In order to unravel the cognitive distortions you hold, you must first become aware of which distortions you are most vulnerable to. Part of this involves identifying and challenging our harmful automatic thoughts, which frequently fall into one of the categories listed earlier.
The fifth technique is called exposure and response prevention. It specifically is effective for those who suffer from obsessive-compulsive disorder. You can practice this technique by exposing yourself to whatever it is that normally elicits a compulsive behavior, but doing your best to refrain from the behavior and writing about it. You can combine journaling with this technique or use journaling to understand how this technique makes you feel.
The sixth technique is introspective exposure. This technique is intended to treat panic and anxiety. It involves exposure to feared bodily sensations in order to elicit the response, activate any unhelpful belief associated with the sensations, maintain the sensations without distraction or avoidance, and allow new learning about the sensations to take place. It is intended to help the sufferer see that symptoms of panic are not dangerous, although they may be uncomfortable.
The seventh technique is play the script until the end. This technique is especially useful for those suffering from fear and anxiety. In this technique, the individual who is vulnerable to crippling fear or anxiety conducts a sort of thought experiment, where they imagine the outcome of the worst-case scenario. Letting this scenario play out can help the individual to recognize that even if everything they fear comes to pass, it will likely turn out okay.
8. Nightmare exposure and rescription. Nightmare exposure and rescripting are intended specifically for those suffering from nightmares. This technique is similar to introspective exposure in that the nightmare is elicited, which brings up the relevant emotion. Once the emotion has arisen, the client and the therapist work together and to identify the desired emotion and develop a new image to accompany the desired emotion.
The ninth and final technique is called progressive muscle relaxation. This is a familiar technique to those who practice mindfulness. Similar to the body scan, this technique instructs you to relax one muscle group at a time until your whole body is in a state of relaxation. You can use audio guidance, a YouTube video, or simply your own mind to practice this technique, and it can be helpful especially for calming nerves and soothing a busy and unfocused mind.
How the traditional techniques connect with relational practice, and how CYCs advance these techniques. CBT's main foundation is based from the way we think and interpret life's event that affects how we behave and how we feel. Using CBT is a short-term therapy technique to help people develop new ways to behave by changing their thought patterns. CBT works or connects in relational practice because CYCs can use it as a coping mechanism when dealing with stress, grief, complicated relationships, and many other life-changing challenges that children, youth, and families might face. CYCs can also use CBT as problem-specific, goal-oriented approach that requires youth and families' active involvement to succeed when focusing on their current challenges, thoughts, and behaviors. CBT is usually time-limited, and the person knows when the course will end, often has an idea of what to expect. The whole idea of CBT is to work collaboratively with children, youth, and families, which requires and counselor to work.
Shayla, and I'm in the Cognitive Behavioral Therapy group, also known as CBT. So you heard my other group members talk about traditions and the approach of the therapy and how it is used and when it's used. I'm going to be talking about an experimental activity. So for this activity, you will need 3 pieces of blank paper. It can be construction, anything you have will be fine. So on the first piece of paper, you're going to write thoughts. On the second piece of paper, you are going to write feelings. And on the third piece of paper, you are going to write behaviors. So thoughts will be at the top, and feelings will follow, and then behaviors. Our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all connected. So try to make a triangle and connect them with a pen, pencil, anything you have. So basically, this activity is about identifying certain triggers and behaviors. You can use this cognitive behavioral therapy one-on-one with a client or in a big family base. So the way that I'm going to be going about this activity is I'm going to be using scenarios. So the first scenario would be, I don't know, if your client is scared of spiders and you have a fake spider, obviously they're going to think that they're going to think very scary thoughts, and they're going to feel scared, and then they're going to behave. They might scream, they might run away, they might have a phobia, and that's identifying a trigger. And then from those feelings, you'll be able to take notes and see how they act. And once your client is aware of the way they feel and act, then we can turn that and use it in a positive way. So not all scenarios have to be negative. Another scenario can be you're on your way to school and you hear your friends talking, not talking, but laughing and giggling behind you. Instead of you thinking to yourself that they're talking about me and feeling, oh my gosh, they don't like me, and then getting upset, yelling at them, you could turn around, hey, what are you guys laughing about? What are you guys talking about? Because it might not even be about you. It starts with your thinking. So that's why thoughts, feelings, and behaviors come into contact, because they're all in the triangle and they all form with each other. But these are some scenarios. Cognitive behavioral therapy is definitely about identifying certain things within your client and the family. So if you're working in a family-based setting, you would obviously do more family scenarios and see their reaction, how they would feel in the situation, how they would act in the situation, and from that then you could also bring in coping strategies. If you want to change it up and not use words, you can use happy faces, sad faces. You can also use colors. This is all about identifying your clients and helping them locate their triggers and help them to understand how they feel more so that they can move in a more productive way. But overall, that is cognitive behavioral therapy. That's just like a little activity that you can do. There are a lot more activities that you can do. You don't necessarily have to even use the triangle, but that it just displays what it is right in front of you. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors from those thoughts and feelings all together. And I think we've all have done cognitive behavioral therapy before without even realizing. Also, just talking to your client and asking them how they felt and asking them why did they behave that way. That's a example of cognitive behavioral therapy, like you just talking to them. So you don't necessarily need all these items. But overall, that is my experiential activity, and it's also, I feel that it is unique because you're basically seeing your client go through the stages right in front of you, and you're able to pinpoint, okay, this is a trigger, okay, this is what we need to help them change, or this, we can switch this into a more positive way. But overall, I hope you liked my video, and well, I don't know, the next person is going to be talking about the summarization of this presentation, but I hope you liked it. So, bye.
In CBT, clients learn to identify, question, and change the thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs related to the emotional, behavioral reactions that cause them difficulty. By monitoring and recording thoughts during upsetting situations, people learn that how they think can contribute to emotional problems such as depression and anxiety. CBT helps to reduce these emotional problems by teaching clients to identify distortions in their thinking, seeing thoughts as ideas about what is going on rather than as facts, and standing back from their thinking to consider situations from different viewpoints.
I'm only one call away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing on me. I'm only one call away. Call me baby if you need a friend. I just wanna give you love. Come on, come on, come on. Reaching out to you, so take a chance. No matter where you go, no, you're not alone. I'm only one call away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing on me. I'm only one call away. Come along with me and don't be scared. I just wanna set you free. Come on, come on, come on. You and me can make it anywhere. And for now, we can stay here for a while. Yeah, 'cause you know, I just wanna see your smile. No matter where you go, you know you're not alone. I'm only one call away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing on me. I'm only one call away. And when you're weak, I'll be strong. I'm gonna keep holding on. Now don't you worry, it won't be long, darling. And when you feel like hope is gone, just run into my arms. I'm only one call away. I'll be there to save the day. Superman got nothing